The pleasure of inviting His Excellency Shri Bhupender Yadav, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Environment, Forest and Climate Change of the Government of India. The video, please, of His Excellency.
His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General, United Nations. His Excellency Mr. Virginijus, Commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fisheries, European Commission. Her Excellency Ms. Svenza, Federal Minister of Economic Cooperation and Development, Germany. Her Excellency Ms. Steffi Lemke, Federal Minister of Environment, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety and Consumer Protection, Germany. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I feel privileged and honored to be provided an opportunity to speak at such a significant subject in this high-level dialogue, and would like to congratulate the Government of Germany for convening the second virtual session of the Berlin Forum. When we last assembled in 2021, the world was grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic. However, as we speak now, the world trade and economy have recovered and in fact surpassed the pre-pandemic levels. The chemical sector has also strongly rebounded and so has to need to convene the dialogue for effective and sound management of chemical. Friends, chemicals are closely linked to our lives as they find their use in almost every industry, service and product. Apart from having numerous benefits, the hazardous chemical pose a threat to human health and the environment if they are not managed in a sound manner. The potential consequence of their adverse impacts, combined with the capacity constraint faced by
in Chennai,
many
the final meeting culminated after 2 intense days of deliberation.
I am glad to inform
centered
you
on
that
reaching
India,
consensus
under
on
the visionary
outcomes
leadership
and
of
collaborating
Prime Minister
on
Shri Narendra
compendiums,
Modi ji,
studies and
has
knowledge platforms.
been progressively taking action to address the sound management of chemicals. We have banned 19 persistent organic pollutants listed under the Stockholm Convention and is currently reviewing the updating of National Implementation Plan. Similarly, in line with our commitments under Minamata Convention and Montreal Protocol, the usage and trade of hazardous chemicals like mercury and substances are strictly regulated. We have domestic regulation in place to ensure that lead usage and recycling are done in an environmentally sound manner. These actions are playing a critical role in evading adverse impact of chemicals on human health and the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been swift in aligning our domestic regulation on hazardous waste, plastic waste and e-waste management at par with the global benchmark and have implemented the extended producer responsibility framework as a management tool. Further, with a view to setting up a regime for addressing the regulatory challenge and address innovation in the growing chemical sector, we are working with the stakeholder to bring omnibus chemical regulation. The regulation is advised to have a mechanism for the registration, authorization, hazard classification and labeling of chemicals before being put to commercial use. Friends, as a matter of policy, the Indian government is committed to ensure that human exposure to chemicals in any form is minimized, be it pesticide residues through the food supply chain or occupational exposure to industrial workers and farmers. Specific regulations have been put in place that prescribe the strict action in case of accident, contamination of foods and with high levels of chemical residues and mandatory tolerance limits of chemicals in consumer article. The banning of DDT in agriculture and a negative list of chemicals for use in cosmetics are some of the examples where the government has prescribed standards to reduce health risks, especially in vulnerable populations like children and pregnant women. Friends, not only products but the industrial establishments have also been advised to ensure that the labor force is not exposed to hazardous substances that can cause acute or chronic health issues. The provision of personal protective equipment to employee and workers and their periodic health monitoring is an essential and mandatory requirement in industrial establishments and implemented through regulations. Friends, any action is incomplete without awareness and training. Our regulations cover this important aspect and make it obligatory on part of product manufacturer to take required actions to educate all the stakeholders and make the end users aware of the product. Being the largest democracy and home to around 1/6 of planet's humanity, I would like to reassure this August gathering that India, led by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, believes in sustainable and balanced development with the protection of human health and environment at its core. As a responsible nation, we are mindful of our responsibility to engage with the global community in fulfilling the objectives of multilateral environmental agreement. We have strongly believed that to collectively address the challenge of sound chemical management, and there is a need to operationalize the common but differentiated respective capabilities. The principle on one hand oblige all states to take responsibility for global environmental problem, and on the other hand recognize the wide differences in levels of economic growth and development needs of state. With these words, I wish you all fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yadav, for sharing with us the challenges but also the opportunities that we have.